Hi, I'm Robbie Ventura with Vision Quest Coaching, and I've been getting a question recently. It's kind of the fall is upon us, and people are starting to think about 2012 and what their targets are. And a big question I get a lot is Ironman for me? Can I finish? Am I good enough to finish? The big question, if Ironman is for you, the big question that you have to ask yourself is not just is Ironman for you, but is Ironman for you and all the significant people in your lives, including your work and your family. I think that that's a better question to ask yourself, because I believe in my heart that everybody, if they have enough time, can finish Ironman and enjoy that process. In my entire life as an athlete, doing all the sports I've done, hockey and cycling, some other things, the most rewarding day of my life was finishing Ironman Canada in 2008. It was such a great feeling. I floated above the ground for a month. And it's just, I can't explain it. So if you're thinking about Ironman, from a physical standpoint and from an emotional standpoint, it's an incredible accomplishment, and I encourage you to do so, if and only if your family and your life and the balance of your life allows for it. And that means taking into consideration how this is going to affect your kids, your spouse, your job, and everything else that you're passionate about, because Ironman does take a lot of time, and it doesn't just take time from you in terms of training time. So let's say you have enough time, which I would recommend at a bare minimum of 10 hours a week, growing that overall training volume up to 15 to 20 hours a week at your maximum. Now, you don't need 15 to 20 hours a week the entire year, but there's at least a month out of the year where you're going to need that much training volume if you want to prepare yourself properly. And for some of you that have more than just a finishing goal, you may be at that 15 to 20 hours a week a little bit longer than a month at a time. So ultimately, guys, you need some time. But it's not just the training time that gets affected. Your overall physical feeling when you're training a lot is a little bit subdued. You don't have necessarily the energy outside of training. And you can't give too much more energy outside of training because you need to recover and let all that training absorb. So I would say for every hour of training, the rest of your life is affected by at least a half an hour in terms of your ability to not be productive in other things because you need to recover a little bit. So it's not just the training time. It's also financially somewhat of a burden, right? You have to get a time trial bike. Ironman, the race itself is at least $500. Add everything else up, it's another $1,000 bare minimum, especially if you're going to fly to a different place. It's even more expensive than that. So there's a financial piece of it, there's a time piece of it, and there's an energy piece of it that you generally don't have when you're a little bit tired from big volumes in terms of training. So ultimately, guys, those are the things you have to weigh. If your family's on board, you have lots of time to train, everybody's excited to support you in this process, and you have at least 15 to 20 hours a week at some point to train in terms of getting the volume in there, I say go for it. It'll be a great experience. And ultimately, guys, you want to understand as much as you can leading into the process. You know, how to train properly, how to be efficient, make sure you have the equipment that can do this. If you're going to go for it in Ironman, make sure you're prepared 100%, because the process is difficult, but it's also very, very rewarding when you make it to the end.